It says we're
Says we're live.
it says we're live.
Ruby Dan, if you got a chance on your first. Yes.
How do I get this? Let me try to find it on YouTube. If I can find it on YouTube, I should be able to send them the link, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Come on, YouTube.
No. It was funny.
What's that?
It was like you're just recording ourselves, not knowing what we're doing.
We are, dude. We've been like this entire time, you know.
All together, or it's separate, like Guy verse, or just like all together, no space.
I think it's all together, right?
Yeah. Well, it says it's going there.
Well, it can't even.
Check my phone. See what I put it there.
Let's see if I can.
Oh, you got it. There we go. Hey, we're good.
Did you find it? I'm looking through channels right now.
I don't know what this.
Is it the Guyverse or just Guyverse?
Guyverse. Like Guy verse.
With a Z?
Yeah.
I'm looking through the channels right now.
Look at the section right here.
Hmm?
Section right here.
Yeah, right.
Got it. All right.
That's
Cool.
in the past.
So, how do we share this?
No, it's on YouTube right now.
Yeah, but I want to be able to send this to people, right? Sergio, at least, so he can give us a.
Maybe through
Oh,
Facebook.
you're a while. I was like, got one person that's this.
Yeah, I should at least unsubscribe to our own channel.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can. All right. Cool. This is a good practice for us anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be up there.
We're able to figure these things out. So let's go ahead. Let's take it from the top here, and let's do the intro, right? Welcome all to Guyverse. Eddie Sanchez here, your host. We have Oscar Flores.
What's up?
And David King. And today we're going to be talking about movie trailers that would come out based off of video games. The more current one is Mortal Kombat. Now, gentlemen, have you both seen the trailer?
Yes.
Yeah, to be honest, I've seen it about 6 or 7 times. So, Oscar, I wanted to get your input on this trailer. What did you think of the trailer itself?
Quality wise, it looks good. Yeah, like the costumes are on point, but some of the lines I thought were a little cheesy, and it may be just me being a little harsh. But I don't know. I really wanted to kick ass, kind of like do you guys remember the old limited series they had online?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah,
vaguely. Yeah.
I wanted to be like that, but even more like cojones, you know.
I don't think the series have that many good lines either. Those are the action that you want.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm sure they'll have the action,
yeah,
CGI and everything to make it work.
Because I mean, if it's cheesy, I can deal with that. But if the fight scenes are on point, I mean, I'll just whip it out right there.
Yeah. So it sounds like from what I mean, the script itself is kind of cheesy lines that, from what you're able to pick up on that trailer. David, what about yourself? What did you think about the trailer?
I liked it. I like the old Mortal Kombat movie. I think this one will be just as good. I don't really. I have low expectations for everything, so I can enjoy it all.
It better be better than Annihilation at least.
I like Annihilation too.
Just
I
no,
like
you did not.
Annihilation.
The costumes. Like
Costumes, the
It's a game though. Like the costumes are going to be rough.
set design.
So you didn't like
everything's on
Jax?
green screen.
You
no.
didn't like Jax?
What was that?
I said, like, well, you could pick apart everything in that movie, Annihilation. Everything was on green screen. The acting was terrible.
Okay, stop. No. That you're thinking apart now. Think about it. When did it come out?
90.
It was
I think
still
the first one came out, what, 96, 95?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It's still 90 something, right? You're telling me what 9-year-old, 10-year-old you wasn't saying how awesome this movie was. You were watching your game character in the movie.
I guess I don't remember that far back.
Now you.
Well, look, as far as the trailer itself, for me, I got hyped up from it because so many movies nowadays based off of video games are trash, and this at least looked like it had some production value. So it looks like they at least invested some money into it. I'm talking in the millions. And nowadays, what I forgot what movie was made with only 50 million. Joker was made with a $50 million budget, and look at how phenomenal it was, and how successful it was. And so if it was made with at least half of that, then we're at least in the right direction. As far as like some of the actors in it, some of them are kind of unknown. Some of them are like B-level actors, except for the I don't know his name, but the one that comes out in The Last Samurai. Guy's phenomenal. He comes out in all kinds of Japanese movies. He's always,
I was like,
he's badass.
Yeah, he's a badass.
And as soon as I saw him in there as Scorpion, I was like, oh, dude, it has the potential of being something good. If they were able to cast him.
So we know at least Scorpion is going to be a good character.
There you go, right? So and then some of the dialogue, yeah, okay, some cheesy lines, but then again, you're working with a set budget, and maybe you don't have the money to get these really good, script writers. But as far as the trailer itself, I gotta say, it hyped me up, and I'm kind of excited to see it. I wish I was more like you, David, where I go into these movies with low expectations, because if it does really great, you're kind of just like, well, hey, shit, like that's awesome. But if it does bad, you're like, I knew it was going to do bad, or
exactly.
I don't. I see these type of
my
movies
disclaimer.
I'm a fan.
I felt certain things. It's not everything.
Because I'm a fan, I'm just like, yo, like hell yeah, it looks like they're gonna do this right this time. So, maybe that's just me.
I know in my heart it will be better than the original Mortal Kombat.
Yes,
that's all I need to know.
Which so that brings us into the topic of today, right? Which is movie adaptations based off of video games and why they're not successful. And the more current ones that are coming down the pipeline is The Last of Us, that just casted Pedro Pascal, fantastic casting, right? And Uncharted with Tom Holland playing the lead as Drake, right? And so I wanted to kind of get your guys' feedback on that, as why do you think these adaptations fail when it comes to video games onto the big screen? David, we'll start off with you.
Okay. First off, I don't think they really fail. They're probably not as big as people hope they are.
Mm.
I mean, most of the adaptations were older. I mean, Mario.
Yeah.
It didn't bomb, but it wasn't the biggest movie. It's kind of a cult classic,
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I like Mario, you know what I mean? Or even, I see Monster Hunter kind of bombing. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm not too impressed with the trailer. I don't think it bombed. I think it just depends, because you have certain people that play the games that are going to enjoy it, and they watch it because they play the games.
Right.
And then you have the people that are just picking apart the movie for the sake of the movie.
Right. And the sense that I bring up in regards to failing is because if you notice from these movies, they don't get a sequel. You know, they get
Mortal Kombat.
They get reboots years later, but they don't necessarily get sequels besides, okay, the one-off that was Mortal Kombat that got Annihilation. After that, nothing. You know, it took how many years for a sequel to actually, or reboot, sorry, for a reboot to actually come out, you know?
Right.
But Oscar, what do you think? Why do you think, like, you know, these movies, like, in other words, fail? Like, what I mean by fail, they're not box office hits talking into the hundreds of millions of dollars.
I personally think because when the video game is being made, story, characters, and all, the key important thing is immersion. They make those characters for that person playing it, that storyline for the person playing it, and then you're doing almost everything yourself, right? So like there's that level of immersion. But if you were just to translate, hey, we're gonna do all those activities, but keep it out of the control, and you're just watching it, like there's no immersion. So like then you start realizing, like, in premise, this is a really silly storyline. You know?
I suppose when people sit there and watch other people play video games all the time, so essentially they're watching a movie.
Yeah, but they know that's what they're going into, like in a movie, like especially if it's something that I feel like you really like. Like let's say The Last of Us, great game, right? But you know, like if you went through the storyline yourself, you felt like it was you going through it, like, and then you watch like a movie and doesn't translate it perfectly. I feel people get bummed out about that easier than other media.
Yeah, that's very true, and I think a lot has to do with Hollywood not having faith in these things, right? There have been a lot of smaller, I would say, movies that were made, or video games that were made based off of movies, the other way around, right? We saw this back in like the 90s when Jurassic Park was a big hit, and then so they made a Jurassic Park game. I don't know if it was for Sega or whatever, and those are not big hits. And so, you know, they made a Terminator into a video game. They've done that. They've done it the other way around, and the video games are not successful. And I feel like,
okay,
Spider-Man's successful.
But yeah, and then Spider-Man was based off of a comic, though. You know, in these cases that we're talking about, this premise is essentially these video game makers are making these video games that happen to come out really good. The Last of Us, for example, phenomenal story, phenomenal gameplay. Everything about that game was great, and that's why it was ranked really high up. But then they're going to try to do that into a particular show. And I think a lot has to do with, and my thought was exactly what Oscar was saying, was that it's hard to, you know, get these 10 cut scenes that they have in a video game and build around that for a whole movie, because you're right. Most of the time, the person is actually playing that game and going through that, you know? So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And that was going to bring up my question was like, why can't they get the source material? And why do you think that's so hard to get that source material from the video game and bring it over to the movie? Why do you think, David?
I mean, it's difficult. I'm sure with the movie, they're getting all new writers and everything. I doubt for the video game, I know they have the story, but I doubt the writers are more worried about the story as opposed to the gameplay. You know what I mean? So they have like what they want the end to be and leave it up to the person playing to get there. So they have to come up with multiple outcomes. I mean, if you're doing for a movie, it has to be one outcome, you know, like step by step by step. And like I said, probably just takes away from the immersion experience, but it's kind of rough.
I see that.
Yeah, that's very you're right, you're spot on. I mean, when these game makers are making the game, they're like, all right, after this cutscene, we have to get this, you know, you have to get this character from point A to point B. What kind of things in this world can we throw in there that he would have to do, you know? As opposed to when you're writing a script, you're like, all right, we know the end, we know how we're going to begin, like we need to fill in the gap. That's going to be different because you have to narrate that for the audience, as opposed to letting the audience do it themselves. So I definitely get. What do you guys think about Uncharted and The Last of Us? Like, do you guys have good expectations for it? Are you guys feeling hopeful with those? Like, what do you guys think?
Personally, I think The Last of Us has a better chance than Uncharted because I feel like Uncharted is more like kind of like an Indiana Jonesy type storyline. And after watching the Crystal Skull, or whatever that one was, I kind of have low expectations for that one. But The Last of Us seems like it'd be more realistic. Because think about it, like, we lived through a pandemic and we saw the ugliness. Like, I could get toilet paper for how long? And it can translate well this time.
I think Uncharted would be good. I never played Last of Us. And so, like, yeah, but I feel like Uncharted is going to try to be good because it is Indiana Jonesy. And
I'm just going to drop my system off. And,
all right.
Please play that game, David. That game is phenomenal, man. The storyline is so freaking good. And there's a reason why it was ranked, so high up the way that it was because of it. I mean, hell, they're basing a freaking show off of it, And so I mean, as far as these two, for me, The Last of Us and Uncharted, I have higher expectations for The Last of Us just because of the casting.
Right.
I mean, they got Pedro Pascal and the girl from Game of Thrones. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't know how she is as an actress. I'm sure she did really well. Yeah. So
it was a younger girl.
Was she the queen of the bear clan?
The lady, the
little lady.
North,
yeah. Too bad.
And so, if HBO is investing all this money to get such a great cast, that's for me a really good thing. It's a positive. They're investing a lot of money into this, and they're going to try to make this definitely. I mean, HBO Max is trying to get subscriptions off of this. They're gonna drop some bills on it. As far as Uncharted, I don't know. Tom Holland, he's made some good movies, and then he's been part of really good movies, and then some others are kind of just unknown. So I don't know if this is going to be one of those films that's like it's more indie, kind of small budget, try to popularize a game again. I don't know how to take it on those. So I'm going to go with David on this aspect and kind of go low expectations and hope I get surprised.
That's fair. Fair point. I like how they HBO got the two actors from Game of Thrones, but not the writers.
I mean, can you blame them? They failed them.
Well, I mean, David, have you seen Monster Hunter? You haven't seen Monster Hunter, right?
I was going to watch it. I didn't have time.
So that's another great, example as a movie that, and I'm just going based off of reviews here, got such terrible reviews, Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience as well. And I watched multiple reviews on YouTube. People just do not like the movie. So this is a really hard thing to do when it comes to Hollywood and getting video games, turn them into movies. So I guess my question for you guys would be, Oscar, I'll start off with you on this. What does Hollywood need to do to change this, this notion of movies not really being that good when it comes to video game adaptations? Like, what do they need to do going forward to change that?
Well, first, I think whoever's writing it should play the game and maybe understand the characters better. Because I understand, like, you can't transition a video game to a movie as easily as, like, I don't know, maybe a book. Because, there's things you got to put in there. But also, like, I think they need to, like, take a step back and realize what the creators wanted instead of inserting their own ideas in there all the time. That's just my opinion.
David, what do you think?
I think part of it is like the costumes and what they need to translate more to be realistic. I know they want to stick to the video game. It's like with Monster Hunter, you look at the trailer, and one thing that like automatically I kind of had an idea when they'll be like great is when you see their get up and their weapons, and it's like real bulky and like it looks really phony. I was like you can make it look a little more realistic. Yeah, like, it doesn't have to look exactly like the game, or like like I said, the costumes, the stuff they had in there, the monsters, whatever. It's gonna be CGI, so you're not too concerned about that. But at least how the people carry themselves and what they have on them makes it look a little more.
Real quick, a question. I've never seen the movie, but like, do they have like the trick weapons in the movies? Like how they could transform? Like it could be like a gun, and then at another point it turns into like a big sword or something.
You said Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the trailer, but he just had like this bone bow, and it looked like a piece of styrofoam cut up.
Because as cool as like that feature is in the game, I'm with you. Like that wouldn't translate well in the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie either. I'm going based off of just like David, just like off the trailer. I don't think there's anything that like transforms one item, one gun to a bigger one or a smaller, whatever. I don't think so. But I agree with David. I don't like movies when they try to go based off of directly how it was of the source from the source material. In this case, being so ridiculous with a gigantic sword, we were just like, come on, man, you can't even swing that. Like, like I can't even swing that. Like, yeah, and so you know, I was wondering, and kind of one of the things I was thinking about, what do you guys think would be able to kind of help change this going forward? Do you guys think budget would be able to help this? Maybe an increase of budget if going from $50 million to $100 million. You think that would be able to save kind of this whole notion of these movies not being that great? Or maybe directors, maybe getting like a Christopher Nolan directing or a J.J. Abrams directing some of these movies. Do you guys think that would be able to save some of this? Or do you guys think like this is just one kind of, you know, aspect of movies that just we might not be able to get right? What do you think, David?
I think it's vision. Like director or something like that, and the writers to kind of, like I said, bring it and make it look a little more realistic as opposed to not really knowing what they're working with and just trying to go based off just the game alone.
Mm-hmm. So do you think, like Christopher Nolan did for the Dark Knight trilogy, do you think if we got, let's say, Christopher Nolan to direct us, like, let's just say The Last of Us, for example, do you think he would be able to make that adaptation from video game to a movie and knock it out of the park?
I think he would, because he tends to like pull something that's like way out there, and try to like at least make it more grounded. So it seems like there's a chance it could happen.
Okay, I can see it. I'm terrible with names of all the directors stuff like that, but I think
you see Interstellar, right?
Yeah. Like I can see that. I feel like maybe realistic. This one did Avatar.
Oh, James Cameron.
He's like his vision. I can see it pulling off more of like a video game if you base off Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kind of mixing it up. Like, yeah, there's still CGI, but it was a good movie. I love Avatar.
Yeah, but he waited years for the technology to catch up. So at least he's like in that camp where like, if it can't be done, I'd rather take my sweet time with it.
Exactly. Don't you want someone that wants to put in that effort? And like I said, based off Avatar, like I can see that being like a game. Like it's all CGI, but that was still a game more. You know what I mean? You have mech suits, they had the crazy weapons, but it wasn't outrageous.
Because like when it's out in 3D, they're like it was so beautiful. But
I heard about that. Yep.
They thought like it would. They'll never be able to like live it in real life.
People were depressed because they were like, "I want to live in Pandora."
I don't mean to laugh at them. I apologize. That is crazy.
No, that doesn't show you. You're right. His vision was amazing. That it grabbed so many people in a way where like, if I can't have this, I don't want anything at all.
Oh, they just going and keep going, try to find it.
They won't ever see a sequel.
Well, I have a question for you. I feel like all of us here have played Halo, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Master Chief, and there's an announcement of a TV show coming out here pretty soon. Paramount Plus, I believe, is producing it. I don't know. Which actor would you guys envision playing Master Chief?
Me.
Well, at that point, I feel like going by story wise.
Doesn't matter, all right? You don't see his face.
No, real talk. I was just gonna say that. Like, anybody, right? You could actually go, hey, I'll put the helmet on. Like, I'll get more bulky. Guess what? I'm gonna go around smacking people in the face.
I just need some like stilts or something, make myself a little bit taller.
That has a lot to do with it, David. The actor has a lot to do with it.
Were you saying I won't be a good Master Chief?
I'm saying you'd be a terrible Master Chief.
You could be one of the what do you call it? Like what's that one Halo game where like they're not Spartans but they're just regular guys that go down there? What was it?
It was like the ODSTs. Like
yeah, you'd be one of them. That game was fun.
you could be like Master Chief's like sidekick.
Wow,
You could be the token black guy that gets shot first.
Let me be a Spartan
You could
from the game.
Since Master Chief is in the Navy, you'd be like as what's it called? Is it yeoman?
Yeoman. You know what yeoman is all?
No,
The paper pusher. They run around through all the paperwork.
that's a perfect role, David. There you go.
The fiscal year is over. We don't have the budget for that.
We got downgraded outfit, all right.
That was another topic. I guess I wanted to bring up is like literally star power. What about star power? I mean, I think as far as we know so far, Pedro Pascal and Tom Holland are the two biggest actor names that I've known that have played in any movies based off video games. Unless you guys know of any other ones that can correct me. Maybe Resident Evil, Mila. I forget her name, but she's not an A-lister like these guys.
Oh,
and Pedro Pascal is just getting to that point. I think he's not a full A-lister. He's getting to that. What's that?
Jason Statham.
What movie did he play?
That was the
Transporter franchise.
No, something Siege. Was it that one I was talking about? The King's Tale.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Can't remember the name. He played in the video game.
I remember the trailer now.
Mm-hmm.
Bald ass, just sort of around. It's nothing. Fuck you.
John. Well, I can't say his last name.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah, John Leguizamo.
But to be fair, he wasn't like an A-lister back then.
I mean, he wasn't, but he's still really good. I mean,
honestly, I'm surprised how that movie can cripple him.
So to clarify, David, A-lister.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Damn, that's a good.
Yeah. Old Street Fighter, huh?
I don't do it too often, but every now and then I pull out.
Well, in his heyday, you're right. He was an A-lister, and he made Street Fighter. I don't think it did phenomenal, but it did good enough to. I think it got a sequel, right?
Game that was converted.
Did you guys ever play that video game based off the movie? God awful. No. God awful.
I think I played Jurassic Park and some of these back in the Sega and stuff like that. They weren't good. They weren't good games.
Jurassic Park. What are you talking about?
You got it?
No, I'm just kidding. Jurassic Park was good.
Jurassic Park, you think so?
80, yeah.
Are you talking about the arcade one where you actually get to shoot dinosaurs? That one's cool. But
was that Turok?
Maybe I don't know.
Well, they have them in these bigger arcades now, where it's like Jurassic Park, where you sit down, you have a gun, and like it goes through the vehicle. Right? Yeah. So I mean, they're not the greatest games out there, but it's something cool just for like $1.
Go to Dave & Buster's, get a couple of monsters, and just like shoot some dinosaurs. Yeah, I'm with it.
So I guess in conclusion, from what it sounds like, it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what Hollywood would need to do to make these things great, because I feel like it would need to be a combination of all three, right? It would need to have a director whose vision is getting the source material from the game that made it so great, that people loved about the game, and really focusing and adapting that into actually film, right? And then of course it would help to have an A-lister, name attached to it, maybe two. And of course, I feel like the budget, would be having a lot to do with it. You can't really do that with under 50 mil. It's kind of hard, and it's proven that it can be done. And just like as I said earlier, Joker was a phenomenal, example. $50 million was the budget for it, and these guys made something that made over $1 billion. Like, that's crazy. And so it can be done, but I think it'll involve like those three things in order for that type of industry to start changing.
Right.
I think so, at least. Right. Yeah. So,
no, the director. Just the director.
Just director. That's it.
Yeah, that's just director.
I mean, no, because look at Justice League. They had who was his name? He did the Avengers first, and that movie flopped hard.
Okay, and what are they doing for Justice League now? They got a new director to.
They got the original director.
Oh,
so they got the original director.
Incentive. So then, what did they do for him? You think it'll be that much better then, since they had to get to redo it?
Honestly, I'm holding my breath on this one. But
did they change the budget?
They gave him an extra I forgot what it was, like 50 million, I think.
Okay,
they gave him some money. He did not pay himself off of it. It's pretty much all going to like reshoots and editing and CGI, stuff like that. But you know what? So we covered the topic as far as adaptations, movies, all based off video games. But we rarely like touch the Mortal Kombat trailer itself. We didn't really dive into it as far as it goes. I don't know about you guys. The Scorpion versus Sub-Zero looks fucking badass. I think that fight scene and the choreography, how it's going when the blood comes out and he turns that into like a spear and he stabs him with it. Was that that's the type of shit that you're like, all right, like they're adding really good choreography with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
in the game, I'm getting the game.
Which game? Though?
I was like, anyone. If they have it where you can freeze the blood and stab him with it, that's pretty good.
I think so in like Mortal Kombat 10, like the newest one that came out. Okay. They do have mortalities like that and cool shit like that.
Mm.
So as far as the movie, it's the trailer. I don't know, man. I don't know why David you would go into it with so low expectations. I just think
it's not
the trailer itself.
It's not like I'm just not hyping myself up for it. I think it's gonna be awesome, but I'm just not like. I mean, it's still like there is room for struggle with it being a video game. Like being translated from something else.
Were there other things in the trailer itself that you saw that maybe you liked or that you disliked?
I mean, I like how they're getting into the characters. I would like to know more, but you gotta wait for the movie. Like, I want to know if they're doing the original characters from the first movie, or if they're kind of branching out and having a lot more of the characters from the game, like Reptile, which Reptile wasn't the first one in Annihilation.
No, he was in the first one, but he was like
the little lizard, yeah. Or if they're gonna have from the newer games, like.
So you want to get a little bit more backstory in regards to the characters. One of the things in the trailer that I don't know if it confused you but it did confuse me a little bit. Because of the first original Mortal Kombat, I think Kano's wasn't he like a villain? Kano was a villain to Sonya. Like, didn't she? And then in the movie, she was like, we got so and so, we got Kano, or like, but she was saying it more of like we got him as an ally, as opposed to in the original, she was in the beginning of the movie, she was chasing him, she was trying to get him because he was a bad guy.
So then maybe this is why he's like the villain or whatever.
In the original, didn't he like kill her? Like, was it her dad?
Her partner or something like that? I think.
Partner.
Was it partner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these are the things that I'm kind of picking up, and I picked up and I was like, well, let's see how they go about it. But as far as the graphics and everything go, and the CGI, it looks to be like halfway decent. I mean, they're not slouching on it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that scene where they show how Jax loses his arms.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. See, I like Jax, so I'm excited for Jax's character.
He's the only black character, right?
That's right.
It's a little biased, David.
What? Just because I like Jax? You didn't say you like Jax. You didn't say you like Jax, man.
That's not true. I did say I like Jax. I just didn't like his costume.
You didn't say you were excited for him. All right, I'm the only one speaking up for him.
What are you talking about? I'm the one who brought him up.
You said how he lost his arms.
Yeah, like this goes to show.
And I'm excited. I'm excited how he gets his arms back.
He doesn't get his
Wow.
Probably. He'll probably a little bit into it.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
A little backstory for the characters.
Who's playing Sonya?
I don't know the actress's name. but apparently she's been in a few other films. Nothing high end, but she's been acting for a while. So we'll see how these movies kind of start to plan out, and if they're even successful. From what I understand, though, The Last of Us is going to be a series, I think, right? Did you guys hear about that? I don't know if it's a series or an actual movie.
I think it's a series, right?
Maybe, yeah. I'm not 100% sure.
If it's going to be on HBO Max, chances are, I mean, it might be a series. Stretch it out and make as much as you can out of it.
You can't compete against Uncharted.
If Uncharted's a movie, I don't know, man. Well, not to mention, like, it probably won't make as much money as it would if all the theaters are open.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have a better bet with a series.
Yeah. Nobody wants to rent a movie in theaters.
I'm not going back. Well, going back, dude. Like, think about it. Like, $15 for a ticket, and if you want popcorn or something.
That's why you always smuggle it in.
And if I'm smuggling anything, it's gonna be a burrito. You laugh, man. Like, hey, watching some badass movie while munching down on like some loaded out burrito.
Hey, those are popcorn machine warming up for me real quick.
Wow. All right, guys. So I feel like we covered the topic pretty well. I'm sure there's a few areas that we missed in regards to in regards to these movies, but if you guys have any comments, of course, drop them down below. We'll try responding back to them. We want to hear what you guys think as far as video games being turned into movies, and if you're a big fan of them, put it down. We'll talk about it. If you think they're terrible, put it down. We'll talk about it. We'll have a discussion. But yeah, thank you guys for taking the time. David, Oscar, of course, thanks for taking the time. What do you guys want to cover next week? Do you guys want to cover WandaVision that just is going to be wrapping up tomorrow? Maybe we can cover the whole full season. What your guys' thoughts about it? I think that's a good topic that we can talk about. Unless David, you had another idea.
No, we can do WandaVision. I just have to catch up. Yeah,
sounds like you got some homework to do, right?
Yeah, I'll get too much time at the moment. So.
All right, perfect. Well, let's go ahead. Let's plan it out. We'll, of course, we'll communicate. We'll talk within ourselves. We'll plan it out and put it out there as far as when the next day that we're going to be able to stream is. And then we'll talk about WandaVision, the full season 1, what we think about it, and where the MCU is going to go from here. So thanks for everybody for stopping by, and Guyverse out.
Later.
Later.